A while ago, why am I fumbling so much? The entire point of this channel is, to avoid this whole perfectionistic charade, and it is going to be a place where I could just be myself. Uh, anyway, a while ago, I was, talking to my dad. As ever, I'm home, away from Bangalore. I'm home. It's not something I do very often. I get to only do this like maybe 3 times a year, and yeah. So the time I spend with my parents, it means a lot. Anyway, so I was telling him about this piece of information I read of a book. The author's basically telling you how you are ultimately responsible for your own feelings. Your own feelings of happiness, sadness, yada yada, and it's really your outlook of the world. And that's maybe some of us are maybe like, okay, fine, but do you emotionally believe it though? Especially because growing up I thought I always needed people, or like need people around me to validate my feelings, or tell me I'm something. Hell, I even thought my entire worth was dependent on a person, or what they thought, or how the world saw me. Especially at a time when a vehicle just went by, but yeah. Ooh. Yeah. And especially at a time when you have media endlessly but they're strongly implying it, I guess, that you need friends, or you need to live your life a particular way. Especially at a time like this, it really begs the question of how you should live your life. And I know there is really no one point to not point, but there is really no one standard way of living life. But I see a lot of people doing it a certain way. Brings me back to questioning things, I guess. The why of things, and why it's very important to ask the why of things. Because growing up, this is probably a certain example, but I'm sure you can think of a lot of areas where this is true. True for other people, I guess, even myself, but for other people in a variety of different ways. But growing up, the world, I looked at the world, and the world taught me something. The world, I don't know, I wouldn't exactly use the word thought, but I don't know, I'd inferred that the world was a certain way, and everyone has an internal model of the world. I thought that I needed other people to to validate me, or to tell me if something's right, tell me if something's wrong. And I guess that makes sense. You wouldn't want yourself troubling other people as well. Like you don't want to be a negative effect on other people, right? That is there. But I don't know, I always thought I needed a girlfriend, a best friend, a female best friend, a normal best friend, a good relationship with my parents, or this or that or that or this. And it all came from how people are living, I guess. And I don't know where others got this definition of the way to live. I don't know who's creating it, whoever's in charge of the propaganda. Good job, I guess. But all of this comes back to critical thinking. And I've gone around asking questions of why are you the way you are, dude, or why do you do this, why do you do that? And most often times the answer is it's just how it's always been, or everyone else is doing it. I mean, no one just goes, everyone else is doing it, but I guess that's why they're doing it. So it's not talked about enough, and it's very concerning. And the amount of pain I'd gone through because of this one issue is a lot. And I think a lot of societal problems as a whole, I think they can all be boiled or distilled down to, people not really thinking for themselves. And not thinking for themselves is one thing. An entire different thing would be, there are no, what do you call them, probably infrastructure in place for people who would like to think for themselves. Take this instance of, thinking, for instance, thinking from the first principle per se. If I guess if you're in the market to do something like maybe build a house, I guess there are a couple of people who built a house. You could probably go to them, or there's cement, there's tutorials on how to do it, but not a whole lot of infrastructure is there for for people who just want to approach life from first principle point of view. And that is very concerning. When I gone around asking people, or like being concerned about things, what I got from most people was, don't overthink it, or why you overthinking it. Yeah, I just said the same thing, but this is just the way things are. And you'd be surprised at the confidence that they exude. This is like extremely dangerous. Someone's coming. Please don't look at me, man. Just go by, doing your thing. And they went by doing their thing, which is good. Okay. Where were we? Yeah, we were at people being so confident. And these are normal people, by the way. Okay, these are some of the brightest people in my life. Some of like the brightest people in society that say all of this. Something probably relevant to this was I'd seen a reel of someone saying, humans, I think they've gotten very good at passing the knowledge down to their offspring and whatnot, but not meaning them. And I think we could we kind of go there if we only just good at if we only just put the infrastructure of thinking from first principles, or something along those lines into the world. Just a thought. And yeah, back to I guess what I found out lately is, you are ultimately responsible for your own feelings. And I think most of the times when you're sad, or I had a bit of a scare, I guess. Love wasn't exactly love. I don't know what it was, but usually when people think of heartbreak or things like that, they just imagine the other person, but it's never the other person, or at least it wasn't with me. For me, most of the problems, they were there, they were sitting there, they were idle. And when I'd gotten exposed to this person, or certain things, they all got activated. And from the outside, or from what at least people say, it's the girl. I'm straight, by the way. At least as of recording this video. Yeah, so usually when people think of heartbreak, they think of the girl, or all these external factors, but it's never really self-betrayal, is it? It's not the fact that you betrayed yourself in ways that you can't forgive yourself, or at least that's what happened with me. That's where first principles thinking took me, and it took me like 24 freaking years to learn this, when it should have probably been something I learned when I was 8 years old. If only we were so good at passing down meaning. Anyway, that was that. I'll see you around, I guess.